This is the exact moment the American Republic died. It didn't happen on a battlefield with cannons and soldiers. It didn't happen in the halls of Congress with a public vote. It happened in the freezing cold mist of a New Jersey train station under the cover of darkness, while the rest of the country was asleep. November 22nd, 1910. Hoboken, New Jersey. If you were standing on the platform that night, watching the steam rise from the tracks, you would have seen something that made no sense. You would have seen 6 men boarding a private train car, but not just any men. These were the titans of the Gilded Age, the men who owned the steel, the oil, the railroads, and the banks. But they weren't wearing their top hats. They weren't wearing their pinstripe suits. They were wearing rough hunting gear. They were carrying shotguns. They were pretending to be ordinary duck hunters heading south for a vacation. But look closer at their faces. That isn't a hunter. That is Nelson Aldrich, the most powerful senator in the United States, the man they call general manager of the nation. The man walking behind him, that is Frank Vanderlip, the president of the National City Bank of New York, representing the Rockefeller Empire. The man in the shadows, that is Henry P. Davison, the senior partner of J.P. Morgan Company. And the small man with the German accent, that is Paul Warburg, the partner at Kuhn, Loeb & Co. representing the Rothschild banking dynasty of Europe. They are using code names. They are forbidden from using their last names. They are addressing each other only as Nelson, Frank, and Harry. They have terrified instructions. If any reporter discovers who is on this train, the mission is aborted. If the public finds out that the competitors, Morgan and Rockefeller, are sitting in the same room, the stock market crashes tomorrow morning. This is not a vacation. This is a heist. The train car is sealed. The blinds are drawn. As the locomotive pulls out of Hoboken and disappears into the night, the men inside can finally breathe. They pour the brandy, they light the cigars, and they begin the work that will enslave every single generation of Americans that comes after them. They are traveling to Jekyll Island, Georgia, the most exclusive, secretive club on the face of the earth, a place so private that no uninvited foot is allowed to touch its sand. But to understand why they are running, you have to understand what they are running from. 3 years earlier, the panic of 1907. The American economy had a heart attack. The stock market fell 50% in 3 weeks. Banks collapsed like dominoes. People were lining up around the block, banging on the doors of trust companies, demanding their life savings, only to be told the vault was empty. It was chaos, it was anarchy, and there was only one man who stopped it, J.P. Morgan, the man whose lieutenant is sitting on that train right now. In 1907, Morgan locked the furious bankers in his library, locked the door, and told them nobody leaves until they bail out the system. He acted as a one-man central bank. He saved the economy. But the public was terrified. They realized that their entire financial survival depended on the mood of one wealthy banker in New York. The people demanded reform. They demanded that the government take control of the money supply to stop the crashes. They wanted a system that served the people, not Wall Street. And that is why these 6 men are on the train. They know the reform is coming. They know they can't stop it. So they have decided to do something brilliant and diabolical. They are going to write the reform themselves. Senator Nelson Aldrich had just spent 2 years touring Europe, studying how the central banks of England and Germany worked. He realized that if they could create a central bank in America, but disguise it as a government agency, they could control the money supply forever. They could print money when they needed it. They could lend it to themselves at low interest. They could bail out their own bad bets. But there was a problem. The American people hated central banks. We had fought 2 wars to destroy them. Thomas Jefferson warned us against them. Andrew Jackson killed the second bank of the United States and wrote, "I killed the bank," on his tombstone. The very idea of a central bank was toxic. So Paul Warburg, the genius architect sitting in that train car, had a plan. "We won't call it a central bank," he whispered. "We will call it a Federal Reserve. We will make it look like it's part of the government. We will split it into 12 districts so it looks decentralized. But we, the bankers, will own the shares. We will appoint the directors. We will pull the strings." It was the ultimate Trojan horse. And to build it, they needed total isolation. They needed Jekyll Island. As the train rattled south through the Carolinas, carrying 1/6 of the world's total wealth in a single wooden carriage, the men reviewed the stakes. If they succeeded, they would solidify their power for a century. They would create a system where debt is money, where inflation is a feature, not a bug. But if they failed, if the conductor realized who they were, if the news leaked that the money trust was conspiring to write the laws of the land, they would be destroyed. Congress would investigate them, the public would revolt, the banks would be broken up. The tension in the car is palpable. They are not friends. Morgan and Rockefeller are mortal enemies. They have spent decades trying to destroy each other's empires. But tonight, they have a common enemy, the free market. They are laying down their swords to build a cartel that will eliminate competition once and for all. The train slows down. It is Brunswick, Georgia. A ferry is waiting. The air is thick with the smell of the ocean and the swamp. They transfer their luggage, heavy with documents, charts, and blueprints, onto the boat. They are about to vanish from the world for 9 days. 9 days to draft the legislation, 9 days to create the Federal Reserve, 9 days to steal the future. As the ferry pushes off the dock and disappears into the fog towards the island, the trap is set. The American people are asleep, dreaming of a prosperous 20th century. They have no idea that the nightmare has just begun. The sun rises over the Atlantic Ocean, casting a golden light on the most exclusive address in the Western Hemisphere, the Jekyll Island Club. This isn't just a hotel, it is a fortress of wealth. To be a member here, you have to be a Vanderbilt, a Morgan, a Rockefeller, or a Pulitzer. It is said that at any given moment, 1/6 of the world's total wealth is walking through its hallways. But on this morning, the club is eerily quiet. The regular staff has been replaced. The normal servants have been sent home. New staff has been brought in from the mainland, people who don't know the faces of the most powerful men in America. They are told simply, serve the guests, don't look them in the eye, and never speak a word of what you hear. Inside the main parlor, the air is thick with the smell of expensive Cuban cigars and the tension of a high-stakes poker game. But they aren't playing cards. They are redesigning the global economy. 6 men sit around a heavy oak table covered in maps, charts, and banking ledgers. They are exhausted, they are paranoid, and they are arguing. At the head of the table sits Senator Nelson Aldrich. He is the political muscle. He is the man who has to sell this plan to Congress. He slams his fist on the table. "We cannot call it a central bank," he shouts. "The American people will burn Washington to the ground if we try to install a central bank. It sounds like a monarchy. It sounds like Europe." Sitting across from him is the brain of the operation, Paul Warburg, the German banker. He is calm. He is precise. He adjusts his glasses and looks at the senator. "Then we will not call it a bank," Warburg says softly. "We will call it a reserve, a Federal Reserve. It sounds boring. It sounds safe. It sounds government." This is the psychological trick that will fool a nation for over a century. Warburg explains the masterstroke. "We will create 12 regional banks. One in New York, one in Chicago, one in San Francisco, and so on. We will tell the public this is decentralization. We will tell them it breaks the power of Wall Street. But in reality, the New York Bank will control the others, and we will control New York. It is a shell game, a magic trick, and the men around the table begin to smile. They realize it can work. For 9 days, they do not leave the club. They work from early morning until late at night. The fireplace crackles as they draft the specific clauses that will become the chains of the American taxpayer. They invent a concept called elastic currency. It sounds flexible, like a rubber band. It sounds helpful. But Warburg explains the truth. Elastic currency means we can expand the money supply whenever we want. When the banks make bad bets and the market crashes, we don't have to go bankrupt. We can just print more money to fill the hole. Think about what that means. Before 1910, if a bank made a stupid loan, the bank failed. The banker lost his fortune. It was called capitalism, risk and reward. But what these men are building on this island is not capitalism. It is a cartel. They are building a system where the profits are privatized, but the losses are socialized. If they win, they keep the money. If they lose, the elastic currency prints a bailout, and the value of your dollar goes down to pay for it. They are writing the code for the hidden tax of inflation. Frank Vanderlip, representing the Rockefellers, is scribbling furiously. He creates the structure for the discount rate. This is the lever they will pull to control the economy. If they want a boom, they lower the rate. Money floods in, stocks go up, people feel rich. If they want a bust to buy up real estate and companies for pennies on the dollar, they raise the rate, the money dries up, the economy crashes, and they swoop in like vultures to buy the wreckage. They are giving themselves a remote control for the American economy. As the days pass, the plan takes shape. It is complex, it is boring, It is thousands of pages of legal jargon designed to make a congressman's eyes glaze over. That is the point. If you can't understand it, you can't fight it. But there is a moment of danger. One afternoon, a duck hunter on the island, an outsider who wasn't supposed to be there, stumbles near the clubhouse. He sees the men walking on the beach. He recognizes Nelson Aldrich. He recognizes the face of J.P. Morgan's partner. The security guards intercept him. We don't know exactly what was said. We don't know if money changed hands or if threats were made. But that hunter never spoke a word to the press. The secret held. By November 30th, 1910, the work is done. The Aldrich plan is finished. It is a masterpiece of deception. It creates a private banking cartel that has the power of the federal government, but the lack of oversight of a private corporation. They pack their bags. They burn their rough drafts in the fireplace, watching the handwritten notes turn to ash. They leave no evidence behind except the final polished document. As they board the train back to New Jersey, they are no longer just bankers. They are the architects of a new world order. They have the weapon. Now they just need to put it in the hands of the president. But they have a problem. The current president, William Howard Taft, is a skeptic. He doesn't trust the bankers. And the American public is still angry about the panic of 1907. If Senator Aldrich walks into Congress tomorrow and says, "Here is a plan written by Wall Street," the bill will die on the floor. They need a new strategy. They need a disguise. They need to trick the American people into demanding the very banking system that will enslave them. And to do that, they're going to have to rig a presidential election. The train whistle blows, piercing the silence of the Georgia swamps. The heist is moving to phase 2. The laboratory is closed. The betrayal is about to go public. 1912, Washington, D.C. The bankers had a problem. Their masterpiece, the Aldrich Plan, was dead on arrival. When Senator Nelson Aldrich introduced the bill to Congress, the public smelled a rat. Democrats screamed that it was a Wall Street plan. The people saw the name Aldrich, a man known for being close to the Rockefellers, and they rejected it instantly. They knew that if the banks wrote the law, the people would lose. The plan failed. The secret meeting on Jekyll Island seemed like a waste of time, but Paul Warburg and his associates were not men who gave up. They simply changed the packaging. They realized they needed a new face to sell the old plan. They needed someone who looked like a reformer, someone who preached against Wall Street, someone the public trusted to fight the banks. Enter Woodrow Wilson. The bankers poured millions into Wilson's 1912 presidential campaign. They orchestrated a brilliant piece of political theater. They had their own agents publicly attack Wilson, calling him dangerous to business. This made the public love him even more. If Wall Street hates him, the people thought, he must be one of us. It was the greatest con in American political history. The bankers were secretly funding the very man who was promising to destroy them. Wilson won the presidency. And waiting on his desk, written by the Jekyll Island Crew but now renamed the Federal Reserve Act, was the exact same plan they had drafted in secret. But they still had to get it through Congress, and Congress was suspicious. Charles Lindbergh Sr., a congressman from Minnesota and father of the famous aviator, stood up on the floor of the House and shouted a warning that echoes to this day. This act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth. When the president signs this act, the invisible government by the money power will be legalized. Lindbergh knew. He saw the trap, and he wasn't alone. Many representatives were ready to vote no. So the bankers used their final weapon, the calendar. December 1913, the holiday season. Congress was tired. They wanted to go home to their families. They wanted to celebrate Christmas. The bankers knew this. They stalled. They delayed. They waited until the very last moment when the halls of the Capitol were emptying out. December 22nd, 1913. Most of the opposition had already left Washington. They were on trains heading back to the Midwest and the South, believing that no major vote would happen until after the new year. That is when the trap sprung. In the dead of night, the leadership brought the Federal Reserve Act to the floor. The few remaining critics were outnumbered and exhausted. It was a legislative ambush. December 23rd, 1913, 2 days before Christmas. While families across America were wrapping presents and preparing for a holy day, the Senate passed the bill. It was rushed to the White House immediately. Woodrow Wilson, the reformer, the man who promised to free America from the banks, was waiting with a gold pen. He signed it instantly. In that moment, the power to create money was transferred from the elected representatives of the people to a private corporation owned by the banks. The elastic currency was born. The invisible government was legal. Wilson later wrote a haunting confession, realizing too late what he had done. "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. All our activities are in the hands of a few men." But regret doesn't change the law. The ink was dry. The Jekyll Island coup was complete. The newspapers the next day hailed it as a Christmas present to the American people. They promised it would end financial panics forever. They promised it would stabilize the economy. They promised it would secure your savings. They lied. Within just a few years, this new Federal Reserve would preside over the worst depression in history. They would use their new powers not to save the economy, but to consolidate it. The 6 men from the train had won. They had stolen the keys to the kingdom, and they did it while you were getting ready for Christmas. Now, look at your wallet. Look at the dollar bill in your pocket. It doesn't say United States note anymore. It says Federal Reserve note. That isn't money. That is a debt slip to the men on the train, and the bill for that debt is finally coming due. The coup was over. The bankers had won. But for the American people, the nightmare was just beginning. Almost immediately, the Federal Reserve proved exactly who it was working for. In 1913, the dollar was as good as gold. You could walk into a bank, slap a $20 bill on the counter, and walk out with a $20 gold piece. Your labor was stored in physical wealth that no government could print away. But then came 1914. World War I exploded in Europe. War is expensive. Governments can't pay for it with taxes alone. The people would revolt. So the new Federal Reserve did exactly what it was designed to do. It printed the money. It lent billions to England and France, fueling a war that killed millions, all while inflating the currency back home. By 1920, prices had skyrocketed. The elastic currency had stretched, but it didn't snap back. It just stole the purchasing power of the working class. Then came the crash of 1929. The Federal Reserve, the institution promised to end all panics, presided over the greatest collapse in human history. And what did they do? Did they save the people? No. They constricted the money supply. They let thousands of independent banks fail so the big boys, Morgan, Chase, National City, could buy them up for pennies. It wasn't a failure of the system. It was the success of the plot. Fast forward to today. Look at the chart. Since the 6 men met on that train in 1910, the US dollar has lost 97% of its value. 97%. That isn't inflation. That is theft. Think about what that means for you. It means you have to work 50 times harder than your great-grandfather just to stand still. In 1913, a father could support a family of 5 on a single income, own a home, and save gold. Today, 2 parents working 3 jobs can barely afford rent. Why? Because the money is broken. Every time the Federal Reserve prints $1 trillion to bail out a bank or fund a war, they are stealing the value of the dollars in your pocket. They are watering down your soup. Woodrow Wilson's warning has become our reality. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. But the final phase of the Jekyll Island coup isn't just about inflation. It is about ownership. There is a legal concept being discussed right now in the back rooms of Wall Street called the Great Taking. It is the final update to the system they built in 1910. It implies that because of the way the debt system is structured, you don't actually own your stocks. You don't own the money in your bank account. You are just a beneficial owner, while the banks retain the legal title as collateral for their own debts. If the system crashes again, and it will, the law says they can take it all. The bailout becomes a bail-in. They don't need to board a train to Jekyll Island anymore. They can rob you from a computer screen in Manhattan. The invisible prison is complete. The bars aren't made of steel. They are made of debt. The guards aren't soldiers. They are central bankers. And the warden is the ghost of the system created on a dark night in November 1910. But here is the good news. The one thing those 6 men feared more than anything else was you finding out. They operated in the shadows because they knew their power could not survive the light. They spent 100 years trying to keep the Jekyll Island meeting a secret. They called it a conspiracy theory. They scrubbed it from the history books. But now the truth is out. The internet has broken their monopoly on information. The dollar is dying. The system they built is cracking under the weight of its own fraud. And for the first time in a century, the American people are looking at the Federal Reserve and asking, why do we let a private corporation control our money? The coup happened in 1910, but the counter coup starts with you. They stole the past. Don't let them steal the future. Wake up.